Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, welcome to the show. Patrick Collins here, aka Swayze Reborn. And we're just gonna hop right into it. It's funny that ever since, all this, we're withdrawing from Afghanistan, all the war criminals from that war seem to be popping up and giving their cold takes on the Afghanistan war of saying the same things that have been said. Um, But this gets really interesting. The other day, obviously George W. Bush came out and spoke against it, and then we had David Petraeus come out and speak against it, and then today we're looking at what Bolton has to say. He did not. John Bolton says we did not lose the war in Afghanistan. The story is from Politico. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton insisted on Friday that the United States had not lost the war in Afghanistan, while criticizing President Joe Biden's order for a full military withdrawal from the country. Bolton, who served as a high ranking State Department official under former President George W. Bush at the time of the initial U.S. military invasion of Afghanistan in October of 2001, maintained that America's armed forces did not lose the 2 decade conflict, but had simply walked away from it. We weren't defeated, Bolton told CNN in an interview. You have to be defeated to lose a war. We've given up because we've lost patience. That's a sad commentary about the current administration, but not a defeat for the United States. So, um, John Bolton, who never liked, he never met a war he didn't like. John Bolton, who tortured people. John Bolton, who invaded countries unjustly that didn't attack us. John Bolton um, is what was a key head in the starting the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. So I don't really look at John Bolton's opinion on anything of national security or defense in any kind of good light. He has bad opinions. Um, and if we weren't defeated, we didn't lose. This is the question I pose to John Bolton and anybody who supports the Afghanistan war. What does victory truly look like in this situation? Are we looking to implement complete democracy? Are we looking to subjugate the people into being more socially like us, being more culturally like us? I don't understand what victory looks like. Is it when all the bad people are gone from the Middle East? Um, what I truly know is that the goalpost seems to get moved further and further for victory in the Middle East. First, it was Saddam Hussein. We got Saddam Hussein. Then it was Osama bin Laden. We got Osama bin Laden. Then what? What's next? Stability? I just there's better ways to do that than better ways to help with that humanitarian ways that without having Americans over there. We will continue the article. In a White House address last Thursday, Biden announced that the drawdown of U.S. troops in Afghanistan will be completed by August 31st, ahead of his self-imposed deadline of September 11th. General Scott Miller, the top American general in Afghanistan, departed the country on Monday. Meanwhile, the Taliban have continued to make rapid gains across Afghanistan, claiming last Friday that it had seized 85% of the country's territory. Western officials have warned that the U.S. backed Afghan government in Kabul could soon fall. Now, why is it happening so quick? It must have just been on the brink. This is something that I don't doubt the facts of these, but why is it happening so quick when we haven't even fully withdrawn yet? It's because it was already close for this to happening. We were holding back a tide that was coming in no matter what. You can't stop a force of nature. To continue, the criticism from Bolton who went on to serve as Bush's U.S. ambassador to the United Nations before returning to government as former President Donald Trump's national security advisor, comes after Bush himself denounced the drawdown in an interview on Wednesday. The former president told German broadcaster Deutsche Welle that Biden's withdrawal was a mistake that would yield unbelievably bad and sad consequences. Afghan women and girls in particular could suffer unspeakable harm at the hands of the Taliban, he said. So, former President George W. Bush, who was best friends with Saudi billionaire tycoons, oil tycoons. Pictures are taken, you could see it. They are one of our biggest allies, and he embedded himself with the Saudis very hard. And we're going to sit here and he's going to try to speak about Afghanistan women and girls. And I'm not saying that the treatment that these women get isn't horrendous and disgusting. But if you think about it in a whole picture, we're sitting here blasting Afghanistan while being in bed with Saudi Arabia, and they do this same thing. That is a serious problem. George W. Bush has no right to criticize anybody about anything because of his track record of illegal wars, Patriot Act, just giving more power to the deep state, giving more power to the CIA, to illegal wars, just lying to the American public, giving crazy amounts of power to Wall Street, crazy amounts of power to the pharmaceutical industries. George W. Bush probably has the worst opinions on everything. And in my lifetime is the worst president, and that's saying something because we've had Trump and we've had Clinton and we had so I don't believe I'm not one of these people that think George W. Bush is great all of a sudden because he hasn't been in the public eye. He sucks then, he sucks now. His opinions are always bad. We'll continue. On Friday, Bolton described Bush's comments as something really remarkable, especially given the former president's preference for avoiding public criticism of his successors. If his quote is unbelievably bad and sad, I find that remarkable too because unbelievably is more than a one-syllable word. I didn't know George Bush was capable of speaking more than one-syllable words. So good for him. In arguing for continued American military presence in Afghanistan, Bolton acknowledged she did not think a terrorist attack against the United States is going to come the day after the Taliban takes back over. I do think it's going to take more time, and that's really what the risk is, he said. I would rather defend innocent American civilians there than in the streets and the skies over America. Now, I watched this interview, and these are the same lines that have been said since 2001. Fight them over there, so we ain't got to fight them over here. Do you really see fighting the Taliban in the streets of New York? They don't pose that kind of threat to us. We're one of the hardest countries to invade. That's why no one's ever done it. But that line doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't. I don't know if it ever worked. I don't know why it ever worked. Probably because people are scared. We're scared. We're scared, and that's a scary line. But I'm not scared anymore. So that line's not going to work. And he's spewing the same crap. But this is what I really think. Bolton also predicted that if the Taliban succeeds in toppling the Afghan government, the hand of the extremists in Pakistan will be strengthened, and the risk of a Pakistani Taliban takeover of that government increases substantially. A Taliban-run government in Pakistan would have control of dozens or scores of nuclear weapons, Bolton warned, adding that a full withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan would also inhibit American efforts to monitor what Iran is up to. This is a central strategic position for the United States. We're giving it away. We're getting nothing in return. We're getting nothing in return. That is a bold statement when we're getting our troops out of harm's way and we're causing less destruction in the Middle East. Look at his reasonings, though. Look at his reasonings. So we can see what Iran is up to. So we can spy on people that we're not at war with. It always seems to go back to Iran. And they could have control over dozens of scores of nuclear weapons. Now, this is the same guy that said WMDs a billion, one of the people that said WMDs a billion times back in the Bush administration, and they were lying. They were lying. But what I really find interesting, honestly, is that John Bolton is saying almost the complete opposite of what David Petraeus was saying from the story the other day. John Bolton is saying that he believes we should stay in Afghanistan because of national security reasons, while David Petraeus, on the other hand, was saying that we needed to stay in Afghanistan to help the Afghanistan people and to build up, that country. So which is it? Which is the biggest lie? Because they're both lying. They're both lying. I'm gonna say that right now. They're both lying. Which is the more egregious lie? Personally, I think it's David Petraeus, but because at least Bolton is his statement is that of a war hawk. It's more aggressive, and I believe that's more of where he truly stands